Wait, where'd it go? Why we were there? Ah, rules knowledge. Back. All right. A long time ago, I went to Jim Evans Academy for baseball umpiring, and one of the things that Jim Evans said, who was a long time major league umpire and worked in the American League for a long time, he said there's absolutely no reason for you not to know rules. So I'm going to start with that. We've had a couple of situations in the state recently where there has been some confusion on where to start the ball after, or who gets it and where do we start after a flag down. So please review that. Let's know the difference. Where are we going to start after a live ball foul? Years ago, everybody took the ball to the alley, like the side. They sent the ball to the alley opposite the benches. Not that that's where the ball was, but that was convenient for the officials. As a reminder, you're going to start the ball outside of if it's going to remain in the offensive zone, outside of the box at a place closest to where the ball became dead. So if you are on top of the box, keep the ball on top of the box. Make the player take a couple of steps back from the restraining line, and you're going to restart there. So it is important we look better, and for consistency's sake, to start the ball where at a place in the alley or outside of the restraining box or outside of the attack box that is closest to where the ball went out. Questions, concerns, opinions, tips? What do we got? Cool. Dead ball fouls.
No, Steve, hold up.
Mike.
So if it's, dead center of the field at like the, 2 yards outside the top of the box, are you starting there or you're backing them up like 5 yards just to
back them up?
How far?
I always say 3 giant steps.
Okay.
So it's like 3 giant steps.
Consistent, it's seems like a little bit of a gray area. So like, as long as we all are doing it the same.
Yeah, and I just I don't know where that came from, but we were like, it happened the other day. Someone was like, "Oh, we started in the alley on single side." I was like, "No, the ball was on bench side, not single side. So we're going to start it on bench side." Dead ball fouls. Know where the ball's going to start. Flag down, slow whistle. We had this situation this year. Flag down, slow whistle, and a goal is scored. What is the face-off situation going to be? How are we going to restart that? And then we'll know the difference between flag down, slow whistle, goal is scored, live ball foul, dead ball foul. And then flag down, slow whistle at the end of a period. Don, you want to talk about that one a little bit?
Sorry, say that again.
Flag down, slow whistle at the end of a period.
At the end of a period. So flag down, slow whistle at the end of the period. If the team that was offended retains possession and lets the period expire before that penalty is adjudicated, they are still entitled to the next possession. So just like if you had killed it with a second left where they'd start with possession, you start that next quarter with possession for that team that was offended. Even if the situation makes it so that the teams are now even, where if they had a guy in the box and they were man down, but now they'd be even, they still start with that possession because they were offended, or they were the offended team. So they're entitled to that possession. It's not a face-off there.
Questions about that? Seems to be some confusion across the state and how that is adjudicated.
Hey, Steve,
Yes.
Kyle here.
What's up, buddy?
Could we talk about restarts when the defensive team is awarded the ball?
Describe the situation, Kyle. Can you
say crease violation? Crease violation against the attacking team.
Okay.
Ball's awarded to the defense. And say it was not a situation with a quick restart where the advantage would is there any scenario where are there scenarios where we are taking the face off, the defensive team taking the face off outside of the attack box in the alley?
What comes to mind to me would be, you have an attacking player entering the crease during a loose ball and the ball is in or near the alley line, or it's in the alley whenever the violation occurs, and then White regains it.
Right, but defense can restart anywhere. We can restart the game with the defense possession anywhere inside their defensive box. We don't bring them out to the alley.
Yeah, we don't have to bring it out to the alley.
Right,
Yeah,
no,
so,
exactly.
but
Yeah,
if the
think that was
ball's
what
in
he
the
said.
alley, that's what I mean. And thinking of Kyle's question of like, there's a crease violation, and then would we start in the alley? The only thing that I could think of, like offhand, was that's where the ball was when the offense regained possession of the ball.
All right, that answers my question. I sometimes have some antiquated thinking about defensive restarts in their own box.
Yeah, because we didn't used to do that.
Right.
So those of us have been around. It's like they're just going to restart it there.
I think I'm finally working that out of my game.
Okay. Any other questions about restarts after a flag down, so whistle? One of the things. Go ahead.
So I've seen kind of this go both ways, and some coaches kind of ask, what's the procedure. So scenario is offense brings it into their offensive half. They're offsides, 7 men on the offensive side. While we're blowing the whistle, they pass the ball down to the bottom of the box and somewhere in the alley, somewhere at GLE, right? So now the question is the restart where the foul occurred back somewhere near the 45? Or do we do a quick restart where the ball is landed where the defense picks it up, let's say GLE?
When I look at that, and I want to hear different perspectives. I'm gonna restart it where the ball was when we recognize the foul. So it's like, oh, they're offsides, the ball's here, and then I recount again, and then I blow my whistle. Now the ball's down there. I'm gonna bring it back up to where it was. That's just me. So I don't want to penalize them for me being sure that we had offsides.
I agree with that.
Does anybody have any other tips on how to do that? Because I want to make sure before I stop it that we definitely have offsides, and I don't want to disadvantage the defense if the offense just chucks the ball knowing that they're offsides, or maybe makes a cross-field pass and an attempt to continue offense. So I'm going to bring the ball back to where it was when I recognized that they were offsides.
Yeah, Steve, 7-3 says when no penalty time is to be served, the ball we put in play at the spot the ball was when the whistle blew.
When the whistle blew.
Yep.
And if the ball's in the air?
Where was it when the whistle blew?
Right. And so that's what I'm thinking. So it's like, okay, so where it was blown. That's an interesting one. Thanks, Max. I don't know. I'm not that good.
Steve,
So
I
I'll
think
bring
it's
it back.
really important that you have good crew communication on those restarts then,
Yeah.
because it can impact, the next fast break or whatever. Everyone's got to be on the same page. Good
Right.
pre-game conversation, I think.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's like, oh, the ball was in the air at the 25 when I blew the whistle, or because I think that what I'm going to do is make sure that they are offsides and recount and then blow. So like that moment that I verify that they're offsides, that to me is when the ball is going to become dead. So it could be like, oh, I'm going to raise my hand I'm going to put the whistle in my mouth. What if you drop the whistle? Then what happens?
Similar to I think it's similar to awarding a requested timeout, right? It's perhaps not necessarily when that audible sound of the whistle reaches everybody on the field, but it's when in your mind that coach had requested the timeout and that team had possession. In your mind, all right, all of a sudden, all these criteria are met. I've got this timeout now, even though my whistle might not sound for a second after that.
Yeah.
And I know that deviates from what the rule specifically says that Max just read regarding at the time that the whistle sounded, but I interpret the time that the whistle sounded to be the time that the infraction occurred. But anyway, that's me.
No, that's I think a fair illustration of that. Any other opinions? All right, know the stick measurement rules and procedures. A good pregame thing is what are we going to, who's going to do it? Let's start with, there seems to be like variations across the state. What are you checking? It's in high school, we have to do a safety or an equipment check as we're doing the stick measurement. So when you approach a player, be prepared to check all the required equipment. You can't just grab the stick and walk away. And so what are we checking for? Someone take themselves off mute and let me know what it is you're checking for.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
In that situation, I'm checking gloves, mouth guard,
Okay.
chin strap,
Okay.
and then I also
Okay.
check the bottom of their spikes to make sure that they're plastic. And
Okay.
then I occasionally, not consistently, but occasionally, you're wearing a cup, correct? And they just kind of either smile and laugh. And I mean, I'm not obviously checking that, but I mean, I at least mention it.
Okay.
And none of them are, but I don't know that. So I'm just going to take their word for it. And it usually shows up later in a play when they get hit in the crotch.
Right.
Anyway, so
What else are you checking for?
Steve, another thing that I ask is if they're wearing the proper chest protector as well.
Yep. They have to have, I mean, I do that. I like hit the player on the chest. It's like, okay, you're good. I probably shouldn't do that, but that's the way I check to see if they're wearing the chest protector. So yeah, I start at the top, make sure they have a mouthpiece. I ask them to smile and then go work down. Gloves. It's the end of the season. A lot of players have worn through the gloves. Remember, gloves that have been intentionally altered, like they cut the palms out of them. Those are illegal gloves. So be prepared for that. Know the rule.
So
go ahead.
With the gloves, how are people telling people to tape them up, or are people throwing flags on them?
If the holes are big enough, I just tell them to tape it up.
That's where I'm at with it. I just didn't know if that was what others.
I think you can tell if somebody intentionally cut him off, or if it's just a senior who's playing out his career with his worn out gloves, too. You know.
I mean, yesterday I saw a player and it was the palm was cut out. I mean, it was just like along the seams, it was cut out. It's like you can't tape that up.
What'd you do?
I wasn't on the game.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I
thought you said you saw it.
I did.
He was observing.
I was observing
some games in the Bay Valley.
Gotcha.
So I was just like, ooh, look at that.
That kid wasn't equipment checked though, Mike. So it wasn't.
Gotcha. Because my next question was going to be, what did the crew do? But, all right.
No, it was just me being nosy Rosie.
Gotcha.
After our equipment check, gather together, pregame, decide where are you going to have your stick measurements.
From the second 5 minutes. From the second 5 minutes.
Where are you going to meet? Most people meet at the 50, like at or near the wing line, not in the box. Who's going to measure? Some ours are like, I will do the measuring. So if you are assigned as a referee, what are you going to do? Are you going to delegate? Are you going to like let everybody check their own stick? We're all supposed to have tape measures. If you don't have a tape measure, let somebody know that you can't measure sticks because you don't have your tape measure. You know, what are you measuring? The head dimensions, know those, know your stick dimensions. And you should have a tape that I've never seen two people measure a long pole to see if it's 6 feet, but I don't know. Questions, comments, tips, tricks. Do not put the ball in the net, and if it doesn't fall out, start walking towards the table. Do not do that. Because the ball might fall out, and then what do you do? Because everybody sees it falls out. So don't do that, please. Questions, comments, funny stories.
Steve, I got a couple things.
What's up, buddy?
I've had this happen multiple times this year where we caught a stick in the first quarter, usually deep, flagged
Okay.
it. At halftime, one of the assistants comes up because they can fix it this year. Anything they can fix now.
Okay.
Comes up and they ask for us to recheck it.
Okay.
I said, no, we're not going to unless you actually want us to. And if it's still illegal, we're going to throw a flag on it again. So they should not be they don't get free stick checks once the game has started on that. They cannot come back to us and ask to remeasure the stick like that. Is the way
Is that a
I've been
rule,
doing
or
it.
is that just like that's your approach?
Well,
You mean after a repair, the team that repaired it wants you to take a look at it?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
I
not.
understand what you're saying now.
Yeah, I wouldn't let them. No, it's like they need to know that it's fixed on their own. We're not going to recheck it again after they fixed it for free.
Yeah, I agree with Max with that. I mean, they have before the game to come and ask us to check their stick and get a free one out of the way.
Yeah, every single stick can be checked for free before the game. We're not rechecking it in the middle of the game. Once the game started, I don't give free stick checks.
Is that a
Unless-
rule, or is that just your philosophy?
I don't know if there's a specific rule, but I believe I remember being taught years ago that we don't do free stick checks after the game has started.
I mean, doesn't it say any stick can be checked at any time, and
Mhm.
wouldn't
And
that fall under the any
and
time?
if it's illegal, then it's illegal.
But he fixed it, and so I'm wondering. I'm going back to PJ's thing about what does it cost you?
Well, what if it's illegal?
Then you tell them to fix it again. They're not playing with it.
But it's in the game.
If it's in a dead ball, if it's at halftime, what does it cost me?
I hear you.
So Steve, I think the
Then
question here, right?
why aren't we checking everyone's stick at halftime then?
Because
if they
they're
come
not
up?
being asked to. We're not being
Well,
asked to.
but if they did, are we checking everyone's stick at halftime?
I mean, what does it cost me?
I think
So
there's some competitive disadvantage there.
I think Steve's question is valid. What is the rule, right? So by rule, when do we do stick checks? And then
It's requested by, I mean, we're supposed to do
by
a required
guideline,
number.
right? So like by mechanics or by guideline, by convention, we all do them pregame as a courtesy before play has started. But I like, so what does the rule tell us we have to do?
We have
And
to, when a coach makes a formal calls timeout and requests a stick check or an equipment check, we do it then. And we're supposed to meet the criteria for random stick checks.
Okay, agreed. So to Max's point, like, is it a rule that we would have to recheck it? No. So Steve's other point, what does it cost us? Nothing. Also, if we haven't been doing that all season long, why start now? Like, the rule book is published. They've had this for months.
Right.
They should know the same stick criteria that we know. If a stick's found illegal, fix it.
Fix it. Right. I mean, I don't know.
I think there's valid stuff on both sides. I don't think we should change what we're doing now. So Max, if you haven't been doing it all season, I wouldn't start. I haven't come across that. I guess I would probably follow suit because that's how you've approached it, and I want to be consistent statewide. I don't know that there's a rule that tells us to do it or not to do it. I don't know that there's a convention that tells us to do it or not to do it. And mechanics are guidelines, not rules. So
I mean, over the course of my career, I've only had one coach ask me to recheck a stick. And I was like, sure. Because
I've
it
just
didn't
had
cost me anything.
I've just had it twice this year, so I don't know where they're getting it from because
Well,
it's
and
the
Max,
same
you
chip
didn't
that
say-
we're like.
Max, you didn't say you won't do it. You said if it's illegal, it's just going to be another flag.
Right.
Because we're past the point of like all the free stick checks. You didn't like,
Right.
and this is the thing. You didn't say you won't do it. You said, I'm not going to tell you it's legal. Like I'm not your safety net here.
So there's nothing in the rule book saying what Max is saying, at least under Rule 4, Section 27.
Right.
And then it does say, it does specifically say that any player subject to having equipment inspected by an official upon request, and that can come at the random inspection of a player's equipment per team, which should be one per half, but usually we get those out of the way early. And then at the opponent's coach can request it. It doesn't specify if your own team requests it, that it would be a penalty. It says it would only be penalized if the opponent's team requests it, or if it's the random one from the ref.
So,
Can
I just jump in here for a sec? Because this has never happened to me. Ever. Okay, now I'm not saying it didn't happen or it happened to Steve once in his storied lacrosse career, but this is, are we having a whole conversation about something that never happens? And two, okay, so you find a stick that's illegal and they fix it and it's halftime. If that stick hasn't been on the field, you can't flag it because it's not a legal stick because it hasn't been on the field. Whether you decide to give the guy a break or not, I think that's an individual thing. Quite frankly, to say no, in my opinion, it's kind of a dick move. I think you're going to create a lot of animosity in that situation. And to Steve's point, it cost us nothing for you to stick the ball in the stick and flip it around a couple of times and then look at the coach and go, good for now. Just like we do at the beginning. I'm shocked that this is a thing. I mean, maybe it is, and I just, I don't know. Never happens to me. I don't know. But if it's not in the book, make a decision if that's something you would do or not, and then just do or not. But I don't think you can throw a flag if a stick hasn't been on the field after it's been adjusted. I don't think you can throw a flag like at halftime or whatever.
Yeah. I agree with Mark, and then I just looked in the college rule book. It's a college rule, but there's nothing in the NFHS book. So that is in college. That where Max is saying it would be illegal in college, but not high school.
There you go. I'll go back to my hole now. Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Mark.
Mark, maybe you're just too nice on sticks and not catching him in the first quarter then.
That's exactly what it is. I've had so many running clock games this year. I just stopped doing stick checks.
I had the same thought, Max.
All right, we have about 4 minutes left, and I wanted to review three-man mechanics. If you feel confident and confident in your three-man mechanics, feel free to sign off. If you want to hang out a little bit and just review the Milwaukee area guys, we don't work three-man mechanics a lot, and it may have been a couple of games or a couple of days since you've had a college game, so you can we can review. So if you are feeling confident and competent in three-man, we'll say sayonara. If you want to hang out, I can't say it's completely volunteer because we're all volunteers here, but hang on and we'll just run through just review basic coverages and restarts. So if you want to say bye. Oh wait, Don, this is an hour, Don?
Well, I put an hour, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then you can't leave.
I'm staying. This is the good stuff.
I figured it
So-
would take a little longer.
Okay.
I want to talk about stick checks more because
Come
I've
on.
already because I
Let's do-
almost woke up after that boring 20 minutes.
Oh, you're the
Oh, I got a
creature,
few
dude.
more I can talk about, Randy.
All right. Face-offs. There's a couple of things that are happening on face-offs that we need to wait. Why do I have a two-man one here? All right, I put the wrong slide up. So we have three-man mechanics. There's a couple of different opinions. If you have an opinion on and you are a referee, we can talk about where you want your where the help should stand, because people have different opinions and have different experiences putting people in different places. And then where we are as the face-off, if we are the administering face-off official or the single side official. So single side official is going to put the ball down, give their commands, and determine, like, personally, I like to either go perpendicular to the line or along the line, depending on where the wing guys are. And I like to have my help at a 45. And I asked my help to be at the 45 on my crew so they could watch the space between the players' noggins to see if they're rolling in. If you are on the wing line, or if you're here on the wing line, you can check to see if the crossheads are straight up, but you are going to forfeit your view of tops to stops. If you are parallel or if you're perpendicular to the center line, you can check tops to stops, but you're going to forfeit the tenting or players leaning in. In high school, depending on my position, I will announce, players, I want you tops to stops when I am back here. And that's all I'm looking for. Let's try to get the face-offs out quickly and do your mental checklist whenever the ball's down, because the players are going to set their feet and grab the cross before we put them down. As discussed in an earlier meeting, we had 11 things that we have to check for. We can't check for all 11 things after we say down. So you have to do those before. Mateo, as a face-off player, what experience do you bring to as the administering face-off officials? What advice can you give us?
Biggest thing, I mean, we always want them top to stop, equal all the time. And we'll do our best to correct it, but when we get to tighter, closer games, as we get further into that singular game, make sure if they're leaning in, they're leaning in equally. If not, like, reset it, start from the beginning. And when you're doing your face-offs, biggest thing is it's you in command of the face-offs. So make sure you're instructing them down. Your sets aren't super loud to make them jump, and make sure between your sets and goes, you're varying them. But I, as a face-off guy and as an official, I like to keep it on the quicker side, because the last thing we want to do is look for violations or create violations and we're turning the ball over. So, the quicker I can get them down, the quicker I can get them out, the quicker we can get the kids playing and, having a fair fight for ground balls.
Other opinions? Scott, what do you got?
So I was going to add, this is something that I don't think I'm the only one that does this, but it kind of realized that this year that it can be a great game management tool. If you're going to change up what you're doing on the face-off, just tell them. Like, we're not trying to be punitive, right? Like, we always say we want it fair, not equal. So if we're going to do something different, like I realized this in a game, I think I was with Mark Jameson this year, and I think Michael Dwyer were there. We just told them we were going to hold the set. I was like, guys, come down, relaxed. We're going to hold it. We want them to be able to take a picture. Don't flinch. And then if they flinch, they realize it's totally on them because you told them what you were going to do. And then if they don't flinch, like, you varied the cadence, but not in a way where you're trying to trick them. because we're not trying to trick them. So if you are going to change it up, there's literally nothing in the rule book that says you can't tell them you're going to do that. And it builds really goodwill and a good rapport with those face-off guys.
That was, hey Scott, that was really effective when you did that. And I used it in a high school game when I had a couple of face-off guys who were getting super twitchy. And I had like one guy jump and then the other guy jumped and then, you know what I mean? And it was just, and I just said to him, I said, look, I'm going to pause for a couple of beats between set and the whistle. So just wait for the whistle before you move. And we didn't have another jump the whole game. That was and I totally stole that from you from that game.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I echo what Mark said. Like, I've used it as well since then, where I just say, guys, I feel you're both rolling into it. I'm gonna pause a little after I say set before I blow the whistle, and then they stay still and they're done rolling for the day.
Yeah, I mean, we figured it out. We figured it out in that game because it was just getting like the temperature of the game was rising, and we needed to do something to change. To change the tenor of the game, right? To change just how it was proceeding. So we slowed down the face-offs. And then we got the guy to, like, we didn't get him. I say it that wrong. The guy jumped after I told him not to jump. And then he was like, funny. He's like, oh, you got me. I'm like, I didn't get you, dude. I told you what I was going to do. But then everybody like just kind of chills out a little bit. So I don't know. I don't know what about that particular game. It dawned on us, but that's an effective tool. Somebody just texted me. It's preventive officiating, right? Again, fair, not necessarily legal. Tell them what you're going to do if you're going to change it. Just like if there's been a problem on the face-off before that, tell them what you're looking for. Guys, clear my neutral zone before you even put them down. Guys, top to stop. Guys, we got to be vertical on this one. Just tell them what you're looking for. And then they do it, and then you don't have to have a violation.
And again, it goes back to game management and also like, what does it cost us? It doesn't cost us anything to communicate with the players. Even before you say another way to slow the game down is like, hey guys, how's the face-offs going? Do you think he's cheating? What am I doing as the official? Are we okay? And a lot of times just taking that time to rehumanize ourselves with these players is to our benefit. Because I mean, they're 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. It's like, I'm famous because the ref is talking to me. And so they feel important. And so again, it's building rapport, building communication, and showing that we're there to work with them, not to catch them and be punitive. So three-man settled offense. One of the things that from the observer's perspective that I've been kind of noting and trying to pass on from other observers is in the lead to start wide. And we want to be wide enough to see the player at X, to see the offensive player at X, and to see the wing guy here in our peripheral vision. If we are too close to the crease, then we are blocking a passing lane and taking away the offense. Lacrosse is one of the only sports where the officials are actually on the field and in the field of play. Football, basketball, they're on the outside, they're on the boundary lines. We're in the field of play. So let's not be another defender. So I had a situation the other day where the player was trying to make a left-handed pass and the official was too close and effectively served as a defender because he took away a passing lane. So start wide, and as play progresses, then you cheat in. Being wide helps us maintain a wider field of vision. We can stay focused on, we can keep the crease in our field of vision at all times. Sometimes guys are too close and they're missing the feet because they're watching the hands as they are, as the player is shooting the ball. In a three-man system, we do split up the responsibilities, but we don't, not everybody has the same amount of experience. If the player is going to you or away from you, to remember to watch the feet because we don't have a lot of experience with that. So staying wide, just by being wide, you're gonna have the player's feet and the player's hands in your field of vision because you're further back and you don't have to close down so closely. As the single side, you're watching that middle part of the field, the middle layer of defense. The lead is going to take the bottom 4 people. The single side is going to take that middle layer, and then the trail is going to take the top layer. Questions, comments, concerns over kind of starting and positioning and looking at the layers of defense or where the offense is moving. As the trail, one of the things that I've observed this year is guys come to this area right here and stand on the end of the wing line like it's the end of a diving board. If the play is on the left, you can work a diagonal and work back towards the center of the field to help out, get another look at the crease. If the ball's on this side, you don't want to, and as the ball moves to the right, you still have the sideline responsibility. So you can work in a diagonal from this line, working back towards the center line. The people that have tried it have commented that is helping them rather than moving across. Because again, when we are working at a diagonal, our hips and our shoulders are always facing the net. They're always facing the crease area, and we're keeping everybody in front of us. As opposed to when we're working parallel, our field of vision is a little more limited. Questions, comments? As the ball moves, we move too. So as the ball is towards the midline, we're going to drop back. In a pregame, you can talk about how you're going to signal whether the possibility for over and back exists. You know, the trail has a couple of responsibilities. It's going to determine whether the ball is over the line, over and back, and he also has this sideline responsibility. Ball near the inline at the far end or at the boundary line, the lead, go ahead and commit. The single drops down to GLE, and then the trail is going to close in a little bit. Questions, comments, concerns, tips, tricks?
What are your thoughts on like the lead and the single side, like kind of being like a yo-yo? I know you like wider field of vision, but like if the lead's going in, typically plays moving towards the single side, so they'd be moving out anyways, right? Like, so I mean,
yeah. I mean, the thing is, I'm not saying like as the lead to get to the intersection of the goal line and the wing line and stay there. I'm saying move in. Start here and then move in rather than starting halfway on GLE and then moving in. I mean, because like whenever, like the Laredo threes of 10 years ago or 12 years ago said, we want to be close enough to touch the pipe. But like play has changed. It's become more dynamic in terms of like the crease rules have been loosened. So yes, you could be that close because players weren't attacking the crease like they used to be or like they are now, is what I'm trying to say.
Steve, I think some of that Laredo talk was getting people comfortable enough to get in to touch the pipe or to put their foot in the crease, but not necessarily camp out there. And I think that doesn't always get communicated, right? Like to Mike's point here, like if the ball is going towards the single side, if the ball is going away from the lead trail side of the field, the lead official can come in to get closer because then when the play comes back at the goal, you ideally would be there to see if he's in the crease before he shoots, like was all over replay today. So you want to be comfortable enough to move in close enough to the crease to get your foot in it or to touch the pipe. But you also, to your point, need to be comfortable enough to get out to the wing line and see the field widely and keep everything in front of you.
Keep everything in front of you and not be an extra defender. I've just seen too many times where guys are too close and they become like free double, because we've taken away a passing lane or a running lane because of our presence, because we are like 3 feet from the defender. And so we are an extra defender. So they got a free double because we think it's super important to be close to the crease when the ball's coming from X to GLE.
Yeah, one tip I guess I'd say with that is like really early in the game, you should get a feel for the type of offense they're running and how wide they play their attackmen and where your soft spots are that you're not in the way, right? Like,
right.
And you can find that, and I don't know, that's helped me, in where I need to be or where I'm comfortable being to see what I need to see.
Agreed. Thanks, Mike. Transitions. Transitions are tough. As the old lead to new trail, don't be in too big of a hurry. As the single side, get to the cone, and we all have different kind of criteria as to when to leave the cone. I was told, stay at the cone until the ball crosses the attack line box. But then I also have in high school, we have the 10 and 2 count. So when do I leave it? When as the single side, that is also kind of like a feel, and you're going to feel it. And unless your crew chief says stay there until this happens, stay at the cone, make sure you're there first, use the dead balls to get to your new spot. So I was given a tip a long time ago. When the ball's dead, that's when we run to get to our spots. If we're walking up the field, we are forfeiting the opportunity given to us to get into a better position. Old trail to new lead. Do your best to get to the goal line, because that's what's most important. The thought is, it's like, oh, you got to beat it. It's like we're not 17 or 18-year-old kids, and the ball goes a lot faster than we do. Just do your best to keep everything in front of you and not get in the way. Questions, concerns, tips, tricks. Transitions are tough. Again, as far as coverage, we have this Bermuda Triangle, the area in the sub box. If there's a lot of congestion here, a lot of times the lead, in addition to committing towards the center line, it's helpful to commit to the sideline, towards the sideline, not all the way to the sideline, because the new lead might be headed at a diagonal towards the goal line. So someone's got to have the sideline. Also, when the lead cuts or makes his way towards the sideline, he has a good look of a straight line look at the players entering and exiting the field. The single side, you can help with any pushes on any contested balls that happen in the bench area, because the lead and trail might be straight line and not be able to see the push from the back. And you're at 90 degrees to it. It's going to look funny because the flag is coming from all the way across the field, but your view is perpendicular to the sideline, and the nearest officials might be straight line. So you can help there.
Steve, real quick,
what's up,
with
buddy?
transition, who is responsible for the various counts?
Single
With the
side
10 and the 20.
and 3-man, we want the single side to have the counts. So the old lead to new trail, if there's a save by the goalie, we'll have the 4 count. And then it is the single side responsibility to do the 20 and 10. So he's going to be counting. With that, the lead can be helpful to the single side, just like in 2-man, where if he's in the box, go ahead and signal that he's in to help the single side out. But the single side should have all the counts.
Thank you.
If you don't have a timer, it kind of looks like we're doing youth if we're still counting. So I don't know what to say. I will refrain from comment if you don't have a timer. 3-man ball out of bounds. Lead has the inlines. The lead and trail.
Hey, Steve.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt you. If you
No,
don't
go
have a
ahead.
timer and you're working with your crew, please let them know beforehand, because some guys have 2 timers and they can bring you one.
Thank you, Don. Yeah, thank you, Don. Don lent me his timer for most of the season last year because mine was broken. Lead and trail. If the lead is here, we have the inline. It takes good communication, and it takes some habits. When there's a shot and the ball goes out on the single side above the cone, the single side is going to have it. Any passes, errant passes that go along the sideline, that's going to be the trail's responsibility. If you are the trail in a settled offense, you can remind the lead that you have the ball by saying, you know, something like, I'm here out of bounds, I got it over. Just as a reminder to let them know that you'll have the out of bounds. And then we go to restarts. Settled restarts. The areas of contention are kind of like the lead trail here. Pre-game about this. Sometimes, like, people will say, if I'm the lead, I will only take restarts behind the net. Others are like, I will take anything below GLE. So find out what you want to do as a crew about who's going to handle that restart. Some people will say, if I'm GLE and the ball is above me as the lead, go ahead and let the trail take it. If the ball's below me, then the lead will take it. Single side, same thing, coming out of a timeout. If they haven't got their touch, the single side and the trail can have a conversation about, like, who's going to take the restart and who's going to have the count. I mean, the single side will always have it, but the trail can, if it's over here, can say, hey, single side will take the restart and you'll have the count. But again, that's a pregame conference type of conversation.
Steve,
questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, what about the restart clearing when the ball's on the other side of the field?
That's the next slide.
Oh,
Next slide.
Got it.
Next slide is here. Ah! Go back. Let's go back to there. Sorry about that. We went too fast. Okay. Tim, is this what you were asking about? 3-man restarts?
Right.
Okay.
You got 2 people on the same side, potentially. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. So again, this is a pregame kind of conversation. Tim, on Friday, what my expectations are going to be, if the ball is in anywhere between the 30s, I want the single side to take it. If the ball is below the 30s, then I would expect the trail to take it. If the ball's in the box over here, I would expect the trail to take it all the way to the 30 on this side of the field. And if it's on the other side of the field below the 30s, I expect the single side to take it. But again, that's what is as a crew communication pre-game conversation. Who's going to have the restarts? And because not all of us work 3-man a lot, we like the double whistles. Let's try to avoid those as much as we can, and we can best prevent those by having a good conversation about a pregame and also being clear in our signals. You know, if 2 people have their hand up, like I'm ready to go, one of them needs to defer and then point that they're ready. But pausing to recognize, is the crew ready? Because like the quick restarts happen when the officials are ready. And just because the coach is like, we're ready, it doesn't mean that the third team on the field is ready. And we're the most important because we got the whistles and can start. So that's where strong signals are really, really helpful. And voices, you know, it's like, Don, you take it, and then you point and go that you're ready to go. Questions, comments, concerns, tips, tricks?
Yeah, so Steve gave the great guidelines here, like what is, mechanics, what is convention, and where the gray areas are. Sometimes even you get into the game, even if you talked about it beforehand, like you're going to break mechanics. So say you've got that real slow roller trickler shot that like is headed toward the single sides end line corner, and it may go in or it may go out, it may stay in, and it's going to be contested, and the lead's on the end line and the single side's over there too. Well, once that is resolved, and if we've got a restart, our most important coverage is goal line. So we can let the lead go back there, even if it goes off the end line, and the single side could say, hey, I'm going to take it, right? So if I'm going to break convention or break mechanic in the middle of a game, I'm going to tell everybody, hey, I'm going to take this one, right? I'm going to pat my chest and say, I got this. I'll restart this. Both verbally and non-verbally, I'm going to communicate that with my crew.
Right. And similarly, I'm sorry, Scott. What I was also going to say is like, similarly, if you have a contested play there, that single side can take it and remind the players that he's right there. Don't do anything stupid. And so the single side can come down. It's like, hey guys, I got the restart, and then you are communicating with them, and your presence might help deter something.
And two, I agree, 100% agree. And you can always say too, guys, I'm right here. Don't be smart. I'm right here. Try that on the field and watch how the players de-escalate immediately. Like they'll go from trying to kill each other to trying to find the ball. If you say that on the field, whoever is going to take the restart, whether you're doing it via mechanic or you're breaking mechanic, your responsibility is the 5 yards. You cannot be the one blowing it in and rely on somebody that's running the opposite direction to get that illegal procedure foul. If you're blowing it live, you have to make the assessment. Are they 5 yards? Did he give them a clear path to the goal? Was there advantage or disadvantage? That is on you as the official restarting. You can't rely on anybody else. Does that make sense?
Any other tips, tricks before we go in? That's all I had. I just wanted to review those mechanics. I would encourage, if we don't have, I was out most of the season, my 3-man mechanics are rusty, so I'm going to be dependent on a good pregame. And then I was lucky to work a couple of 3-man games this past weekend. But pregames as reminders, make sure that everybody's on the same page or at least has the same book, and then we can work from there.
Hey, Steve,
Mike, what do you got?
Going back to the face-offs and the helper, okay. How close do you want the helper, and how close do you is the single side?
The single side, what I was advised, we're inside. If there's a soccer circle, we're like 5 to 8 yards away from the ball.
Okay.
So we're inside the soccer circle. And then if I am the administrating official, I'm like 2 to 3 yards away from the ball. Sometimes I'm like almost 4 yards away from the ball. If I'm perpendicular, I give my commands from 4 yards away, and I say down, and then I check to see tops to stops. I've already checked their feet. I've already made sure that everything is to the left of the crosses. They're standing there ready to get down. And then I'm not moving. I'm static, and I say set, and then I blow my whistle, and it's almost a swistle. So it's like down and then set whistle. Because I don't want to, I like having face off, so I don't want to give them time to screw up.
No, I agree. One thing that helped me is just being told to keep getting closer until you're uncomfortable, and then get closer again until that's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, for WILOA, they wanted us static in 3 to 5 yards. Right. So I'm 4 yards, and that's where I feel I can have my best field of vision, because if there's something happening, I can step in, and I'm far enough away. If a player pushes it towards me, that I could get out of the way, unless the kid makes a poor decision on an angle to pursue me. Dumb kids.
Hey, Steve, a couple of
Yep.
things that we did in college is as a crew, we would decide where the face-off guy was going to be for the game and where the helper was going to be for the game. And
Yep.
I found it just then everybody knows where they got to go,
Mhm.
right? And so we would say that the face-off guy would go down the line, and then the helper would be perpendicular. So you get both, you get a good
Yep.
three-dimensional picture
Yep.
that way. And then you don't have to talk about it either.
Nope.
That's what's going to happen. You do it and the face-off goes.
Right. I don't commit to that because as the helper, if I see my guy go to the parallel or on the center line and the wingmen are running up his back, I will let him know because I don't want him to get run over. So I will say go 90. So, but that's a conversation that we're having because I'm watching as the helper. I'm waiting for the bench side official to give me the field of the ready for play signal. And I'm also watching where the wing guys are. So before my partner moves, before the administrating official picks the position, I will let him know where the wing guys are so he doesn't get run over.
Yeah, that's a good tip too.
Yeah. So
don't get run over.
Yeah, don't get run over. So if they're on the line, I will say go 90. So then you can check tops to stops because I don't want you to get run over. So that's my only pushback against let's always go to the same spots because we might be putting ourselves in jeopardy. Anything else, my friends? All right,
Hey,
it's
Steve,
the last. Go ahead, Scotty.
This is not a mechanics thing, but I want to point this out to everybody. Dudes, at the most, there were 27 people on this call, and Tuesday the 28th, we need 48 officials.
We talked about that.
All right, sorry, I must have missed that.
No,
but
it's all right. So
be prepared to work with some guys that don't know what they're doing because they
Right.
weren't here and they don't care enough to be here. So good luck.
So with that, it is the last week of the season. Seedings have already been done. In the games that we have this week, be vigilant. Don't let things get out of control. And some kids, it's not, I mean, we can't control them. We can only try to react to what it is that they're doing, but some teams may not give a fuck and they're just going to go out and run people. And so let's just keep that in mind as the game develops or you see a team on your schedule this week. Because if a higher seed is just playing their JV players, that could have an effect on the quality of the game and kind of like the attitude of the visiting team or the team that is probably the lower seed. So just be aware of that. Other than that, good luck on Friday's games. And then next Tuesday, the 28th is a big day. So reach out to your assigners and make sure that they have your availability. Scott, Randy, anything else from the assigner perspective that you need while the 27 of us are here?
No. What we're doing this year, Scott, Nick, and I, we're putting our games in locally, if you will, for the 28th. And Scott, I did publish again, even though I got commitments from everybody ahead of time. I just want to make sure I have a lock, stock, and barrel when I tell the Chuckleheads and Stevens Point who's going to be on those games. So
Yeah, we can expect some of that in the next 24 to 48 hours for me. So,
Randy, with that, are we going to be getting email? I confirm with you, I confirm an arbiter, and then we have to confirm with the WIA that we're doing it too. Is that
what we were told? Is that they will send out those beautiful our school contracts based on what we tell them or who's going to be on it. So if I haven't confirmed an arbiter, then I send it to the WIA saying these are the officials for this game. When they explained it to us, it was actually insane. They literally went down the list and just called people to find out if they were available. And then they just threw them in.
Anything we do in arbiter is unofficial. That is Randy, Nick, and I doing our best to help them, and that will be what we tell them to do. And whether or not they listen depends on whether or not those last two brain cells up in Stevens Point are working together that day.
Yeah, no, I know. I just got an email that was saying like confirm this, and then you'll be sent the contract. And I thought it was just like it seems like it's like 8 confirmations, which I get it's new and whatever. I was just curious if that's what to be expected.
Our school or Ref View is the official game assignments. Anything in Arbiter is a thought exercise from your assigners.
No, Mateo, red cards are not required. Having worked like playoffs in other sports, you will get a contract from the school and probably an email from the AD asking for making sure that they have all of your contact information correct and reconfirming that you will be assigned to the game and that the AD will be the one responsible for payment. But it is, you will get multiple emails from people, hopefully. I mean, to me, that's reassuring, but it is kind of like, oh, geez, didn't we already do this?
Right.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
just wonder what to expect.
and we're using Arbiter, guys, just so we can keep a grip on making sure that the games are assigned. And then we're taking that information and we're sending to the WIA. Here's your crew for this game. Here's your crew for that game. Do what, take that for what you will. We sent them stuff for the upcoming play-ins this week, and they screwed that up anyway. So it was kind of a clown show, but
we have input. We have input, not oversight. And if they choose not to select, like not to heed like our informed opinions, we're powerless to do anything about it.
Sounds good.
You don't sound thrilled.
No, I just wanted to be aware for myself, but also others, so that they know what to expect.
It's true, and that's a great point, Mike. Even though they're coming from Arbiter, what we're looking for is the accepted, email, right? Or, that we can see in Arbiter. And we take that and we actually send it to them, say, here's who you should have on this crew or on this game. And then it's up to them to then, once again, contact you, Mike O'Dwyer, to say, hey, are you really going to do this game? Okay, good. Now we're going to send you out a contract. Well, it happened to us last week. Was it Thursday or Friday, Scott? I think it was Thursday, where people told everybody that they're going to be on the game. We sent it up, and then when they contacted the people, oh, I can't do the game. God damn it! You just told us you could. It's like, so
yeah.
So
don't envy your position.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a fun postseason. So like we're doing our best to kind of lay it out in advance and provide the best information possible up to Stephen's point. Stephen's point may or may not use that. If they choose to, then it hopefully plays out as we suggest it should. If they choose not to, then they do their own thing and all hell breaks loose. But nothing's official until you have an R school or Ref View contract. Arbiter is just a suggestion.
And that contract will come from the school.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it'll come from the school. It's not going to come from the WIAA.
So Scott and Randy, this is Scott from up in the Bay Valley. So when do you think we should know by for next Tuesday? You say everybody's going to do them. When should we know by? Do you think? And I know it's we don't have a crystal ball, but what are you thinking, by Tuesday?
I know the Milwaukee games were published before I got on this call. I don't know where Scott and Nick are, and I'm not going to speak for them or put them on the spot. We still have a full week to get it, done.
Yep.
I even begged the WIA to change some of the games from next week, Tuesday, to like Wednesday or something. I said, you're asking for something that we just don't have. But they're like, no, we're going to do our games on the 28th. I'm like, okay. And then the caveat was, Well, we don't really want guys traveling all over the state to do it because we're trying to keep the cost down. I go, you can't have it both ways. You, you either get guys that'll travel or you get guys that won't be there. So it very disappointed in the administration out of Stevens Point, but we will get through it. We will provide our players and our programs the best officiating possible. That's all we can do, because that's what we do. So
Yeah, I got it. Because I was one of them that Nick had me the next Friday and had everything going, and then I was planning on it, and then I got a thing. Nick says, "Oh nope, they changed their mind." I'm like, "Okay,
yeah,
no problem."
they literally Scott and I and Nick were texting, and they literally changed it without even telling us. They just did it.
Yeah, I mean, guys, at the end of the day, we're trying to do what we've always done, which is put all of our state's officials in the best positions to succeed and to have every game be as successful as possible.
Right.
Unfortunately, we have people we have to work with that have the oversight that don't understand any of that. And like it doesn't matter how well Nick, Randy, or I figure everything out or what our intentions are. There are other people pulling the strings that don't care.
That makes sense to me from hearing from other people and things that go on at the WA. I completely understand what your frustration.
Yeah. So that is, that's kind of where we're at. We're doing our best to put every game in a successful spot and every official in a successful spot. And if the people that ultimately send out the contracts want to do something else, it is what it is. We're moving on.
I have one quick thing, and I'm not sure if it's been similar for the people in the Milwaukee area, but a lot of the schools haven't been sending out payments for games. Randy, how would you like us to go about that?
Say it again, Ryan. I don't think I quite grasped that.
So like, for instance, with me, that there's a fair amount of schools that haven't sent out checks and stuff, even though I've made sure to give them my W-9s and everything, and it's almost postseason. How do you want us to go about that? And I'm not sure if I'm the only one in that situation either.
Well, every school administrator has access to Arbiter, so they know who's actually going to be there. And they should have sent you a contract accordingly. Because I know every game that I did, not only did, if I accept my own game in Arbiter, I got a contract from a school to do it. Do you have those contracts?
Yeah. I've kept record of them.
Okay. I would just flat out just contact the AD and just ask, what's the scoop?
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was something that other people in the area had also had a similar occurrence happen with them as well, but I'm just like, I may as well ask the question now since we have a large group of people here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the high schools are usually pretty good about it. It's like within 2 weeks you have it. Youth is where it's more of a pain in my ass because I always give everybody the 2 week thing. If you haven't been paid in 2 weeks, let me know and I'll get a hold of the program.
Yeah.
I would just reach out to the AD directly. And the ADs have been really good this year, so they want to make sure that they always have officials. They don't want to be that one school that everybody hates going to because it takes forever to get paid. So, and each school is different too. I mean, if you go to McGuanago, Andy pays you literally as you walk on the field, which always makes me feel dirty, bought and whatever. But and then you have some schools that'll pay you post of the game, and then you have some that just send you the check. So each one's different, and I think Brookfield pays electronically. I think USM does too. So yeah, there's the full gamut, you know, but if you haven't been paid in 2 weeks, just contact the AD. And if you need a list of ADs, Ryan, let me know.
Will do. Thank you, Randy.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through after this meeting and kind of just make the spreadsheet of checks and electronic payments I've received and go from there.
Okay.
Don, you want to end it?
Yep, that sounds good.
Thanks, everybody. Good luck in your games this week.
Yep.
See ya.
Keep them safe, guys.
Thanks, guys.